Hello, thank you for joining me in a new video. Today, I am excited to bring you a review of the Honor Choice Open Air True Wireless Earbuds. Let's get started. I find the name of these headphones to be quite lengthy, so please do not mix them up with the Honor Choice Earbuds Open, which were recently introduced as a sort of successor to this model. This particular model is being phased out, hence my emphasis on not confusing them. However, they are still available for purchase. It came as a gift with the Honor 200 and some distributors, so let's find out what they can offer us. Its price is more or less $1,499. On the screen, you see the reference price in dollars, but remember that the prices here are not the same as there. Let's start by looking at its design. In this case, I have the option in black color, although they are also available in gold color. The case features a plastic fabrication with a satin finish that looks quite appealing. Although these are open format headphones, the case remains relatively compact compared to other options, which I found quite favorable. On the front side, there's a tab for opening the lid along with a small LED indicator. Meanwhile, on the back, there's a USB-C port for charging both the case and the headphones. Additionally, a relink button is available for connecting to other devices. It's easier to use. The case measures 84.7 by 55 by 26.5 millimeters. I emphasize that it isn't excessively large compared to other open format headphones, though it is a bit larger than typical headphone cases, yet thinner. Let's say that as it is a different format, the case changes its format slightly as well. Keep in mind that the case is not waterproof. Upon opening the case, we immediately encounter the headphones. These headphones, as I previously mentioned, feature an open format design. This means they don't actually enter your ear canal. Instead, to stay securely on your ear, they are equipped with a small hook that is covered with silicone. This hook contains a metal core that allows it to adapt and mold to the shape of your ear. It is quite comfortable, and in that regard, I believe I have had a very positive experience with them. The body of the headset, once again, is crafted from polycarbonate with that satin finish we've already observed. However, the outer portion will feature a matte design, which will be the area where we'll find the controls, which we'll discuss shortly. I appreciate the design, it's minimalist. If you wear glasses, there won't be any interference or anything of that sort, they function well. However, it's important to mention that it lacks a sensor to detect when you put on or remove the headphones, something that is usually traditional in headphones of this price. So this could be a weak point if you like this action of pausing the content when you remove the headphone. Although in an open format like this, it is not an action that you should do constantly when someone is talking to you or something similar. So it is not so necessary the sensor, but for the price, I think we could ask for it. Each earphone weighs approximately 7.9 grams. I must emphasize that they are extremely comfortable and come with IP54 resistance. This means you can use them while exercising without worrying about sweat damaging them or anything like that. However, they are not waterproof, so if you accidentally fall into water, they are unlikely to survive. Now, let's discuss the controls these headphones provide. In this regard, I have been a bit disappointed because there aren't many options available on the exterior. I expected them to have touch panel controls, but not the entire surface responds to touch, only the top part of the headset. You need to get used to finding it. Like with any new headphones, you have to learn where the controls are. Some headphones do have larger touch areas, so it's not just a small spot. When it comes to the limited area for touch detection, it's already something that I wasn't particularly fond of. But I could overlook this issue if it offered a wide range of options. Unfortunately, this is not the case here. In this instance, CAS provides only two touch gestures. One is to play or pause your content, and if a call comes in, this very same gesture will be used to answer the call. Furthermore, if you're already engaged in an active call, this identical gesture will be used to end it. It's quite limiting when you think about the potential for more diverse functionalities. However, it does not support a gesture with just a single touch, nor does it support gestures with 3 touches. Much less does it support scrolling. It will, however, support a long touch. In this instance, the default setting is that with the left earphone, you proceed to the next song, and with the right earphone, you return to the previous song. It seems that they are in the reverse sign, although you can modify this through the application. Besides altering the playback behavior, this very gesture can also be utilized to manage the volume, provided you set it up this way in the app. Alternatively, with this gesture, you have the ability to enable or disable the game mode. All of these configurations are done through the app. Speaking of which, this application is accessible on Google Play, so you can easily download it without any issues on other Android devices. Interestingly enough, it is not pre-installed on Honor phones, even though the headphones do allow for a certain level of functionality. configuration level from the same Bluetooth settings without using the application, but it is curious not to find the application pre-installed. If you want to completely avoid any accidental activation, you can also disable these gestures, but you definitely have very limited controls. Maybe if you already have a smartwatch, it is not so necessary because from here, you could control the playback, but it will depend entirely. Personally, I prefer having all the controls accessible, and here the experience feels quite limited. Now, let's discuss the sound quality they provide. They feature dynamic drivers of 13.4 millimeters each. For the price, it's acceptable, with a frequency response from 20 Hz to 20 kHz, typical for any headphones. However, since these are open format headphones, don't expect a strong emphasis on sound quality or experience without pronounced bass or anything similar. Be aware of this to avoid disappointment, as is common with open type headphones. Here, there's no specific equalizer, just 3 app presets: default, bass amp, or vocal amp. If you enjoy bass, enable the bass amplifier, but note the bass still isn't very strong due to the same open format. Additionally, consider that if you plan to use these headphones in very noisy environments, the same issue arises as with other open format headphones. The bass frequencies will be significantly diminished. Therefore, in much noisier environments, I wouldn't recommend headphones of this type. However, if you want them perhaps for use in the office where you don't want to miss out on conversations or anything similar, they are a good option. Just keep in mind, they are not traditional headphones. The headphones are designed to deliver the highest quality of music. Although they lack high-resolution audio codecs, they only support SBC and AAC. Furthermore, they do not feature noise cancellation. In this regard, there are some alternatives that, despite being open-format headphones, offer noise cancellation, but unfortunately, this is not included here. However, considering the price, I believe it is acceptable and represents a solid proposal for this format. The audio quality is not particularly clear, so if you are someone who enjoys disconnecting from the world and fully immersing yourself in your music, these headphones might not meet your expectations. However, if you're looking to listen to music or podcasts casually while multitasking, they can be satisfying. When it comes to phone calls, each earbud is equipped with 2 microphones. This setup is designed to implement noise cancellation during calls, utilizing artificial intelligence. Alright, so let's conduct a test during a phone call.
Esta es una prueba de audio en una llamada, todavía en un entorno bastante silencioso. Vamos a agregar ruido ambiental a continuación. Ahora estoy en un entorno mucho más ruidoso, hablando en un volumen normal para notar cómo se desempeña este micrófono. Ahora estoy hablando un poco más fuerte, simplemente para saber si es suficiente con esto.
Overall, I believe the performance is standard. It's not exceptionally amazing, but it should suffice for making calls. Regarding the battery, each headphone contains 60 milliamp hours, while the case holds 600 milliamp hours. According to the brand's official figures, this provides 10 hours of music playback on the headphones at 50% volume. With the case, the total extends to 40 hours. However, remember that battery life varies with everyday use. If you listen to music at a higher volume, the battery life will decrease. Therefore, it's important to keep this in mind. In very noisy environments, it is not recommended to use them because you would need to increase the volume significantly to listen to your music properly. This would consume more power and isn't great for your ears either. Fortunately, in such cases, they have fast charging capabilities. With just 10 minutes of charging, you can get around 2 hours of playback time, which is quite positive. However, keep in mind that they do not support wireless charging. Let's discuss connectivity a bit more. In this case, we are offering Bluetooth version 5.3, which is a modern version. This means it has excellent stability and a good range. However, we do not provide the feature of connecting to 2 devices simultaneously. You can link to more than one device, but it lacks the intelligent switching feature found in some other devices. If you use Honor cell phones, you will find the smart pairing window available just when you open them. The hearing aids are in dead mode, and the cell phone Honor will display a small window. Additionally, when you start the connection and it is already linked, the battery status will appear, providing a bit more information. However, you can connect with Android devices or even with an iPhone, but the connection is entirely manual. This is because they do not integrate Google Fast Pair, which would facilitate connecting with Android devices. Moreover, they do not integrate Microsoft Swift Pair for easy linking to Windows laptops. Even though I insist, yes, they can indeed be linked, the process remains entirely manual. Now, let's proceed directly to the latency tests. because in this situation, it incorporates a game mode that is said to reduce latency. However, it is important to point out that in this particular case, this mode can solely be activated via the touch controls. I find it a significant flaw that it cannot be activated through the application, as we have very limited versatility in the controls. Therefore, you end up having to sacrifice your control. The playback control, or perhaps another control, is used to toggle the game mode on and off, which is something I personally am not fond of. Usually, most headphones have the option to enable game mode via the app, but not in this particular case. So let's proceed to listen to some latency tests. You're about to hear a test conducted with Honor cell phones, followed by another test using a Samsung cell phone, and finally, another test with an iPhone. In short, these headphones offer a packed design compared to others with the same open format. However, like many open format headphones, they don't prioritize music quality or immersion. They're more about music being a companion to real life, so it depends on your user type. Battery life is quite good, and the microphones perform adequately. However, I would have preferred to see quick pairing with Android devices as well. In this situation, they are integrated into the Honor ecosystem, which makes sense, so quick pairing is limited to Honor devices only. For now, we have reached the conclusion of this video. If you enjoyed it, you know you can let us know, and we will see you in the next one.